What up, ninjas? What would I tell my younger self, my white belt self? What would be the advice that I would give my white belt self if I could go back in time? I started Jiu-Jitsu in 1996, but I've been martial arts my whole life. 52 years old. Been a black belt since 2014, but been at Jiu-Jitsu for 27 years. And if I could go back in time and have a conversation with my white belt self, well, that would be an interesting conversation. And I wish I could do that. So if you're a white belt now, or wherever you are on your journey, maybe there's something that you can gain from this conversation. I think probably the couple of the big things that I would have told myself is about training safely and being mindful and conscious of, not getting injured in my training. But it's not even just the injuries, right? Like, not even like the stupid stuff or and I actually haven't had like a lot of any of those real like crazy like traumatic injuries where someone gets their arm broken or something crazy like that. For me, it was more wear and tear stuff, and not so much from jiu-jitsu, but like improper weightlifting, kind of going crazy with some of that stuff. But definitely, like, for sure, some good lessons on the mats. I think what really sticks out for me is tapping early on everything. And that's the advice I would give anybody who's a beginner or whatever point you're at in your training, is tapping early. And that really rings true for joint locks. And not just tapping early like when you're rolling. I'm talking about like when you're drilling. Like, it's that constant wear and tear. It's that constant beating up on your joints, that repeated jarring over and over again, that twisting and jarring against your shoulders and joints, that's gonna like cause damage and wear it down. Like, think about it logically over time. Like, if you're constantly abusing it and and then not doing the recovery stuff too, like, you're really setting yourself up for a bad path. And you didn't start this journey to have multiple surgeries and mess up your body. So that's one of the things that really sticks out for me, is making sure that I'm always tapping early, and making sure, and I'm always reminding my students too, that when you're training moves, when you're training a technique, you should not be like, oh yeah, dude, go a little bit harder. Yeah, no, I don't feel it yet. Yeah, there. Oh yeah. Tap. You know what I mean? Like, that crazy kind of like testing the limits of your own body is just not smart. Like, the limits. Like, the arm goes really good here, but it starts to not work good here. And if you apply a lever to it, it really doesn't work good. And that's where the injuries start to happen, So the repeated jarring of the joints, being really mindful of that, tapping early, when you're trapped, tap. Like, if you're a beginner and you're in a position, you're not aware of what's happening and you can't get out, and you're feeling like you go left, you go right, nothing's safe, like, you should probably tap. My other rule of thumb is the open chain versus the closed chain. Closed chain means your hands are locked together. Like, your hands are clasped together. Like, if you think like you're defending an armbar and your hands are locked together, right? There's a degree of safety there. Not a lot, but there's a degree of safety. But you have to be prepared to verbally tap at any time, because if he's pulling or they're pulling and you're resisting in the other direction and your arm goes to failure and they're still pulling at that same intensity, yeah, you're going to get hurt. So a closed chain, like, again, you have a degree of safety. But if you're in an open chain, like, your hands are not locked together and they're pulling back and you're like here, you don't wait till you're here to tap. Like, you're tapping here because you're not getting out. And what's the point of that anyhow? Like, what are you really like proving? There's nothing to prove there. So always being conscious of tapping early. And that's the one thing, like, if you actually like listen to my advice right now and did just that alone, even without like taking care of yourself with recovery or anything, like, that alone would extend the warranty on your jiu-jitsu for sure. But it's, that kind of stuff, like putting our body at risk. Or on the other side of that, unsafe training partners, training with people that are kind of crazy and you don't feel safe. So if you don't feel safe with somebody, you should tell them, like, you don't want to roll with them. If you're in an environment where like it's not cool to say that, like your professors aren't okay with you doing that, then you need to either go to your professor, or like if you can't resolve that, like if you're being forced to train with people like that are making you feel unsafe, then maybe it's a different school for you. And what I mean is, like, it's one thing to be challenged. Like, you're going to be challenged. The rules are never going to be super easy, but like you shouldn't be in a position where like you feel like every time you roll, like everybody's trying to rip your joints off and kill you. Like it's not what this is about, like, for sure. So making sure you have good training partners. Other things that kind of stick out, like, is the recovery side of things. Like, if you're doing all of the things on the mats to stay safe, you need to do all of the things on the home end of things to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success on the mats. That means good supplements, joint supplements, a good daily stretching regimen, some good mindful meditation that's going to help you mentally with your training and keep you grounded. All of the stuff at home, like the diet. How are you treating your body? Like, are you treating yourself like you're an awesome sports car? Are you treating yourself like you're a piece of crap, and then you're going on the mats and then abusing yourself, your body physically, and then abusing yourself physically, with your diet at home too. So you have to be addressing that game as well. So yeah, it's a little bit of everything, but being very, very conscious of how you're training, like removing the ego as much as you can from the equation, both for you and your partner's sake. It's always going to be a challenge. It's never going to be, like easy in that sense, but you got to be willing to do the work, and you got to be willing to, exercise that bit of self-regulation. If you're in trouble in your training, like, it's okay to tap. Remember, the tap isn't there to punish you. The tap is there to serve you. Like, if you started doing rock climbing, you wouldn't rock climb without ropes. Like, the tap is the same thing. It's your safety net. It's there to serve you. You would start rock climbing with some ropes, like, especially if you're going up high. You're not like Alex Honnold, so you know what I mean? You're not going to be like doing crazy shit. Like, you need to have some sort of safety net, and the same thing applies to your jiu-jitsu training. You have to have a safety net, and that is the tap, which really, if you think about it, like, what an amazing tool that it affords us. Like, we get to practice this martial art pretty much at 100%. And at any point, there's a way out, a safe way out. But if you're not respecting the tap, you're like waiting on the tap, or like you're that person who doesn't respect the tap of other people and you're putting them at risk, then, you're not going to have like a good training experience, and it's not going to last. Like, you're either going to get hurt, or you're going to be the person known for hurting people, and no one's going to want to train with you. So you need to treat other people like, like just like you learn in like preschool, like the way that you want to be treated, but even better. Like, leave it better than you found it. That's what I always try to remind my students when we train. Like, leave your partner better than you found them. Like, take good care of them. Like, they're going to be in compromising positions where you could literally like, hurt somebody pretty bad, or like even possibly kill somebody. Like, it's serious business, like choking and arm locking and all of this. We sort of take it for granted because it's just kind of what we do. But like, at the end of the day, like, it's all very serious stuff. So, you have to respect the art, and you have to respect the tools that you're playing with, the technology. Like, it's a technology that like anybody can learn. And, you can't always like expect that someone's going to have a moral code attached to that technology. Like, just like your phone, like anybody can master that technology and utilize that technology for good or for bad, right? There's no thing that like you have to feel or think a certain way to make your phone work, at least not yet. But like, so your training's the same way. It's a technology, but I like the idea of attaching a moral code to that like, I'm going to treat people better than, even I want to be treated, and I'm going to leave them better than I found them, I want training partners for life, not, a one-night stand. All right. I hope this helps. I don't know if it will. Make sure you, hit the like button, subscribe and follow, and, share some comments below on your experience of what it's been like for you. Like, and have you gotten hurt? And maybe did you end up here today because you got hurt? So, hopefully not. Hopefully this can be a, perhaps a wake-up call if you need it, or just a good little like public service announcement. Ayo. All right, ninjas. We'll catch you on the other side. Os.